Also, we have this awesome picture of Orihime here, looking freaky. So, yeah, I want someone to caption this. It's like, oh my, can you see this too, James? It's like, it's like, oh my god, I forgot to study for my final today or something. Yeah, it's like, someone caption that. It works so well. Okay. All right, now here, you might be able to have something else to say about this because it involves Orihime. And I think I brought this up heavily in the discussion video I did. This arc also completely dropped the ball on one of its core plot threads. Aizen discovered that Orihime's power, previously thought to be a healing ability, worked by time manipulation. You know what? I don't even know anymore what her power can do.
It's not really stated.
It's not stated because you had.
Kind of...
it was originally set up. Go ahead.
No, I can't really say anything because I don't really know. We know that it manipulates time and space, but we know it has other properties that haven't been explained.
Yeah, we know it can manipulate time and space, but it has limits.
Yes.
I mean, personally, I said this in the discussion video, I would have been fine with it just being a straight-up healing ability, and it just gets stronger as Orihime's own Ryatsu gets stronger. So that's like, gives her a drive, like, oh, if I want to properly heal my friends and get stronger, then I have to myself get stronger to increase my abilities. And then you had Ukiura who said, oh, it can reverse time. And then you have Aizen going the next level being like, this is beyond that. This is the realm of a god. I'm like, oh, good lord.
Yeah. But it's good possible foreshadowing depending on which route the Thousand Year Blood War goes.
Depending if they bring up this at all.
Depending.
Because
again. So I'm not going to jump the gun on it.
Me neither. But I will say one thing with this arc is that it started off so Orihime-centric. And to rescue her, and then you had all those scenes with her just in her tower, just, you know, thinking to herself, like, I'm going to use my power to erase the Hokyoku, and it gives the impression like this is a really Orihime-focused arc, and then after a while, it just kind of fizzles out, and she's just not a main part anymore.
To be honest with you, it's the same with every arc, though, isn't it? It's like one of the main characters starts off the arc, and then it becomes Ichigo-centric. It's the same with the Soul Side, it's the same with Veronica,
yeah.
Fullbringer especially, well, Fullbringer was a bit too obvious.
Yeah, with the, at least with the Soul Society arc with Rukia, at the very end...
She was always shown. Yeah.
They capped it off with the Rukia thing, with having her execution. That was pretty emotional. We didn't have anything close to that with Orihime, where she was, like, about to come really close to death. And then you had, at the very end, that little scene with Ichigo and Rukia at Kukaku's place, and they're just kind of, like, just tying up everything and just be like, hey, I'm going to stay here in the Soul Society, thanks for rescuing me. With Orihime, it's like after the events with his battle with Ukiura, Orihime just kind of disappears and doesn't show up again until after the fight with Aizen's already over, and she's just in a group with everybody else. And it's just, I'm just saying, with an arc that focused on Orihime, potentially, she just kind of fizzles out.
That goes, I think that goes to debating whether that's to do with the Iranka arc, and then obviously the Aizen War being its own separate thing.
Yeah,
I think it is. But
you can look at it like that. I'm just like, there's no big cap off on, you know.
Yeah.
Orihime talking to Ichigo, like, you know, thanks for doing all this and stuff. I think they could have dedicated at least one chapter to capping that off, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is just going on more about Orihime. The arc's final stretch consisted of even more ceaseless fighting, but this time it was mostly between characters who had only rarely appeared in the series before. Over 50 characters got involved in the final confrontation with Aizen. Do you think that number is accurate?
Absolutely not at all.
50 characters got involved in the final confrontation with Aizen. Now, is he including, like, the Espada in that? Because even if he is, I don't think that really fits.
I still don't think it, no, it doesn't. I think that's
I mean, I don't want to go diving into just all the numbers here, but if you're including all the captains and lieutenants that fought, if you're including the Visors, just those two groups alone are not even close to being 50 strong.
No. And then obviously you got Aizen and his followers.
You have Aizen and then his followers. Maybe that might get close. I don't even think it's getting close to that though. Close to 50. I don't know where he's getting.
Unless you count
50.
all the Menos Grande coming out from the sky.
Yeah. Fura using the Menos barf attack, and then which the only reason that existed was just to show how badass the Visors were. That's the only. That's the little thing about Bleach. You have to like, holy shit, a bunch of low-ranking Menos Grande that a single captain should be able to take out easily. Oh, the Visors got it. Okay, they're pretty badass. Yeah. I mean, it was cool when Kensei takes out Tachikaze and just... No, Kensei just punches one and it just explodes.
Gatling the hell out of it.
He punches the hell out of it, and then Hachi does the barrier thing and just knocks them all out.
And then Love just literally going into the school and
rips it out, and Rose does the weirdest thing where he's like, He has like the power to, because it's not as, I don't know if it's his Zanpakuto ability. He does that piano thing, and in the manga, it's just he plays the piano and it just gets ripped to shreds. In the anime, it's like he can manipulate like a wire, and it gets like, and
it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. But Rose was pretty cool. And kind of sucked. It kind of sucks that he's dead, but
who knows?
Who knows anymore? But I don't know. I mean, Toshiro coming back, I kind of expected that because he's fan favorite. But Rose and Kensei, I don't know. But yeah, okay. So the 50 characters thing. Some of these characters were just now appearing for the first time, simply written in to provide the 10th through 15th most important Soul Reapers with individual opponents. Okay. Kubo's efforts to make the battle a grand spectacle backfired by favoring quantity over quality. By the end of things, I was feeling very sore about Bleach because it seemed to be putting off the Ichigo versus Aizen fight for as long as possible. I will say that I got the impression of that, and then they kind of brought in the final Getsuga as like a saving grace for Ichigo, like a Deus Ex Machina sort of deal. Because it's like you had one scene where, Ichigo it's made very clear that Ichigo just can't beat Aizen. Aizen's just way too strong. And it looks like Ichigo's about to piss his pants in front of him, basically. And then it's like, well, how the hell is he going to do this? And then you're like, oh, there's this power that we've never really talked about before, but you can get it, and then you can just become way stronger. Or on his same level.
It depends where, again, in passing your blood war go, seeing if he's stronger than when he was back then when fighting Aizen, seeing what feats he can make. But I would agree to a certain extent that...
Yeah, I would have been fine with it completely if they at least hinted at the final Getsuga before Ishin told him straight out about it. If just a little bit. Yeah, that would have been a lot better. Okay. Okay, now he's talking. Okay, this is a good part too. As he grew more powerful through the use of the Hogyoku, he stopped bothering to devise clever schemes and instead relied purely on his own immense strength to get the job done. And he basically, Aizen comes out and says this. When he fights against Ishin, he basically says, I don't need to be clever anymore because I'm God now. And that does kind of take away... Huh?
I think that's realistic.
It is realistic, but it kind of does take away a lot from Aizen's character when he's just like, I don't even need to be clever anymore. I can just, kick your ass. It's realistic, but...
Yeah, I mean, how I truly saw it is that everything went according to plan. Oh, I know. But everything went the way he wanted to go, and it was still going to go that route. Nobody could defeat him at that point, and he knew that, and we knew that.
Yeah.
So did he really need to use his clever initiative? No, because what was there to be clever about? I'm stronger than you guys. There's nothing I can do that's clever to beat you. I can't do out of raw strength anyway.
Do you think that if he didn't use the Hogyoku, Aizen would have been able to be like against Ishin and Urahara and Yoruichi? Do you think that would have been like he might have still won?
Yeah, because he hadn't released his Bankai. So.
Yeah. Oh God, no, there's still that. Yeah. I think that's the one reason. That's the one reason. Doesn't matter. The series should have ended here. The series should have ended here. No, because Aizen Bankai. Kubo knows. Kubo knows we need to see that shit. That has to be coming. I am 100% certain. I am 100% certain that has to be coming. People say about Kenpachi's Bankai. I'm like, I don't know, but Aizen's Bankai definitely. Urahara Bankai definitely. But yeah, that's...
Urahara and Aizen were like the top Bankai that everybody wanted to do.
Yeah, well, now I guess they would be because, still talking about what the hell Unohana's Bankai did. Because we have no idea about that. It's summoned, like, blood or acid or whatever you want to do it. I don't know.
I still think he can manage to throw it in there somehow. I don't know how, but I
would say the best bet, because we still need, a big part of this is we still need another flashback arc of the first invasion of the Soul Society.
Definitely.
Which I thought they were going to do when they did the Basby thing, because they were hinting on it. Like, we still need to see what happened with Yamamoto 1,000 years ago, and Unohana was a part of... Yeah, Unohana was a part of the original Gotei, so yeah, we would see her fight back then and see what her Bankai could do most likely. That's one.
I think it's possibly going to go into a flashback when Aizen confronts Shibabaka. I think that's when the whole exploration can get brought in.
Yeah. Okay, and then going on to the final Getsuga here, Ichigo looking epic. Eventually, Ichigo unleashed his ultimate technique, giving him the strength to defeat Aizen at the cost of losing his Shinigami powers. It wasn't the perfect ending, owing mostly to all the problems leading up to it, but it was a great note of finality to the whole thing. By all accounts, Bleach should have ended there. I'm sorry, it couldn't have ended there. There were still way too many questions to be answered at that point. Not the least of which being fucking Masaki and Isshin's backstory, which was not even touched upon yet.
Ichigo's backstory, like, oh my god.
Yeah, Ichigo, and there were still all the issues with the Bankais that have yet to be seen. I don't think anyone would have been truly happy if it ended right there.
Of course not. People were going to complain either way. If it ended there or if it didn't, people were going to complain.
Yeah, I mean, at least wait until you get the Bankais finished up, and then, I mean, people are going to complain regardless when your series ends. Like, I think in the upcoming weeks from Naruto ending, Kishimoto got quite a fair share of death threats and hate mail. Yeah, probably still does, honestly. He's like, if you don't start Naruto up again, I swear. He's working on
Naruto and Sakura thing. People going mental.
Oh god, yeah, I remember that when that ended. There were a lot of people freaking out over that.
Really? Over a pairing? Okay.
You're overestimating the power of fangirls, James.
Why?
Fangirls and fanboys alike.
Why until it's either Rukia or Hime?
You know what? Yeah, and everyone, I like Ichihime. I mean, I like Ichirukia. You like Ichihime, don't you?
I'm not even bothered either way. I just think that's more of
that's more like, see, okay, the way I look at it is, personally, if I had my choice in the matter, I would do Ichirukia. The way this series is going, it's most definitely Ichigo and Orihime, because that's just what's been set up so much. And Kubo's...
I think it should just be Ichigo and Tatsuki.
There's shippers for that, too. For pretty much every female character there is for Ichigo. But I honestly, people ask me, like, how do you think it's going to end with that? And like, Kubo even came out and said, this is not this kind of series. It's not like
Hold up. Wait a minute. He was also the guy that said, Ukatani is just generally sick.
Okay.
So, I mean, never take Kubo's word for both workers he's a troll.
Yeah, I mean, he does contradict himself occasionally.
He's going to get your hopes down, and then he's going to make it happen, and then you're going to be like, what the fuck? So.
Yeah, the last chapter, it's like Ichigo and Orihime running to each other, and Ichigo just runs right past Orihime and grabs Rukia and be like, you're my forever. And the fandom explodes. And you can hear the screams. You could just open your window and listen, and you can hear the screams of all the Ichihime fangirls that are just crying themselves to sleep at night. But yeah, that's a good sound. That's a good sound. That's gonna be my ringtone. Okay. Okay. A ton of people should have stopped reading at that point, even though it was widely known the series would be continuing anyway. You're saying a ton of people did stop reading at that point. I'm not sure if there was a drop off there. I don't have the numbers. But anyway, interest in Bleach had already.
He does either, to be honest with you. I don't think anyone has the numbers unless they've really gone in depth and.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to go by guess. I just volume, what was it? 48 was the end of the fight with God is Dead, and then 49 started the Fullbringer arc. I guess you might have to look into like if there was a lot of volume sales for 48 and then it just dipped for 49. I don't know how you would look that up, but I'm not sure about it. But anyway. Interest in Bleach had already been lowered thanks to a drop in quality, but people's sense of completism kept them waiting to know how the battle against Aizen would end. Even those who enjoyed the entire war against Aizen, his defeat had been the perceived endpoint of the series for years. I would say that a lot of people did think that Aizen and Ichigo, that would be the ultimate final battle, because we didn't know about the Quincy's yet or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, even if Kubo wanted to make that the case, he would have to, like, if he wanted to redesign the entire series to that point where Aizen would have been the final villain, hey, who knows, maybe he still might be.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, he's still around. We don't really know what his motives are yet.
It's crazy to think that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's something I personally want to go put a lot of money in, but he could pull like a last-minute thing. It's like Yuha gets killed by like Hashwolf, and then Hashwolf's the main villain, and then or something with Aizen. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So moving on to the Fullbringer, and not much to say here, but it does bring up something that it's kind of a plot point that I didn't really think about it, but after I was reading it, it got me into a little bit of an issue here. Okay, so I'll start from the third paragraph down, and after he was talking about the Fullbringers. Okay, so this is talking about Ginjo and Tsukishima's master plan to take Ichigo's powers. His complex schemes were a pale shade of his predecessors too, talking about comparing Ginjo to Aizen. Ginjo's plan made no sense whatsoever. To earn Ichigo's trust, he had to pretend that he's one of his allies, Tsukishima was actually his enemy so that Ichigo would be convinced to unite them against a common foe. To pull this off, Ginjo had Tsukishima use his ability to alter the memories on him, causing Ginjo to temporarily believe they were enemies, putting aside the gamble he made and hoping that everything would work out as predicted once his mind had been altered. Yeah, and the reason that they did that, it was kind of just a throwaway, because, you know, they basically, the only reason that Tsukishima had to go the extra mile to mess with Ginjo's mind was that Ginjo's a terrible actor. That was just kind of like a throwaway.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
You had to make it believable, you know?
To make it believable, true, but he does bring up a good point that's like, everything would have had to predict it, that would work exactly as they planned out, with no problems.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because, you know, one thing goes wrong and the whole plan falls apart. Yeah. But he ignored the painfully obvious option of altering Ichigo's mind instead. The only explanation Ginjo offered for not doing this with Tsukishima's powers was, the game won't be any fun if it's fixed so that we can't lose. From a storytelling perspective, I get that, because if Tsukishima just, you know, was like walking next to Ichigo on the street and it's like, oh, book of the end, okay, we're good, we win. That wouldn't be
there wouldn't have been any point in Ichigo's own development.
There wouldn't be a story there. It's a stupid reason. Really, the game won't be any fun if it's fixed so we can't lose. It's not a very good reason, but from a storytelling perspective, there wouldn't be an arc. I was thinking maybe Kubo could have come up with maybe a better idea. Like, oh, hey, maybe here's something. Ichigo has all these powers in him, so Book of the End might not work on him. I don't know, something maybe a little bit more concrete than just, I don't want to do this just because it won't be any fun.
The thing that I've always seen with the Fullbring arc is that it had a very good idea of what it wanted to do, but it wasn't presented in the best way. It was presented poorly. It was
presented very poorly. He brings up Chad in this article, and I brought this up in my Chad discussion. He was, I think, originally supposed to play a really big main role in that arc.
Ichigo and Chad were supposed to fight, supposedly.
They did, but it was more of just like a scuffle. And I'm I did this in my Chad discussion. I'm just like, wouldn't it be way more efficient if you had like a 3-4 chapter, like a serious fight with Ichigo versus Chad? Now, under normal circumstances, Ichigo would kiss Chad's ass. But, you know, he has his Fullbring, which he's not super experienced with, and Chad has trained with his Fullbring for years, so that would be an even fight. And you could have a like really emotional fight here, and maybe at the end you could have Ichigo win, and then Chad be like, you know, oh, I'm broken from Tsukishima's mind control now, or something like that. But it just they don't punch it. They have like a couple of scuffles at Tsukishima's mansion. Like Ichigo's like he tries to attack Tsukishima, Chad blocks him like, I don't want to fight you, Ichigo, and that's it. And then he gets knocked out by Urahara or whatever, and that's it. And
yeah, that's why I say like it could be presented better.
Just Chad's part alone was just completely abandoned, it seemed like. He played a big role in helping Ichigo learn the first step of his Fullbring. He's like, oh, my Mestizio blood, and then that was it. And that was beyond that. Okay. There was something else I wanted to bring up here. Where was it? It was the beginning here. Okay, so he's talking about the 1.5-year time skip, and he says that nothing seemed to be happening in the intervening time skip. None of the Soul Society had bothered to check on the guy who won a war for them. But then again, nothing seemed...
This particularly annoyed me, because I think that was just, did you even read it?
Yeah, really.
It's like, I don't know what your stance on this is, but they were watching him.
Yeah, they were. They couldn't... There was no point in them like going down to the world of the living and like watching and actually seeing him, because he couldn't see them. It wouldn't have made any point. But they were watching Ichigo. They were spending... Wasn't the whole, like, it was implied, like, that entire time skip, Urahara was working on that fucking sword so that they could pour their energies in, and they were working on a way to get his powers back for all the shit that they did for him. But it took a while, because they were never working, they never had to really work with this shit before, you know?
Of course, it's always been an illegal thing to transfer.
Yeah. But Yamamoto gave him basically, it's like, an exception because he's done so much, and Urahara made this sword. It just took some time, and they were observing him. And they finally, went and, honestly, it's even conceivable to think that they might have waited longer. It's just that all the shit that happened with the Fullbringers kind of necessitated them to hurry it up and get his powers back as quickly as possible.
I think it was, as Ukitake said, using the Shinigami Soul Reaper badge to surveillance him to see what he would have chosen. can we trust this human to work for us?
Yeah.
Even though he won the war, he's a powerful enemy if he does become an enemy. So we've got to see what decision he makes. Will he be manipulated by Ginjo? And if he does, we'll kill him. If not, then great, he's on our side. You know?
Exactly. So I think he just glanced over that part there. Strengthening the bonds between each one. So yeah, like, okay, so the strength. This was especially a big problem because the plot was clearly meant to demonstrate a strengthening of bonds between Ichigo and the Soul Society, so that the readers would feel more sympathy when the Soul Society was invaded in the major story arc. What? The strengthening of bonds between Ichigo and the Soul Society, so that the readers would feel more sympathy when the Soul Society was invaded. I mean, like, when the Soul Society is invaded, you know, that's established as like, oh shit, you know, that's serious, but it wasn't because of the Fullbringer arc that I felt that way.
Yeah.
Many fans who had given up Bleach one final chance to prove itself finally quit. Okay, I mean, the Fullbringer arc, all in all, it wasn't very popular with the readers.
It wasn't, no.
It wasn't. People still complain about it. So
and I think it even got to the point where the editors actually hurried him up, in fact, with that arc.
You know, that must kind of suck, though, also, being a mangaka, where you're trying to tell a story and you have editors breathing down your neck, like, hey, you either have to speed this up or slow this down, depending on how the numbers are, how the money's going.
It happened with the very start, the first Substitute Shinigami arc.
They were like, hurry up and get to the Soul Reaper captains and shit.
He wanted to do more character development with the other characters, and he wanted to try and do that again at the very end of the Soul Society arc to give more of an impact to the other 4 members, but again, was told to hurry up.
Yeah, I understand that.